Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good whatever time you find yourself listening to Hannah's Shenanigans. Today, I will be looking at living with adversity. It is the third episode of my Solitude Season series, and I'm glad to be back after a short um, time away. I had a cold and, my voice was lost for a while, but I am back. And today, I will be looking at what is adversity? What is it? What's it all about? How do you acknowledge it? The difference between acknowledging and knowing it, and how do people react to adversity? And also, how do you rise above adversity? So, hey, if you've got any questions, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, or if you think that, oh, this is something that a friend would benefit from. But for now, let's get into it. Now, the definition of adversity, simply put, it's hardships or a state of discomfort. Basically, it's struggles that causes pain. So it could be emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, whatever. There's a time of adversity, there's struggle, and there's a fight for one's from, so that you can go into some state of comfort. Now, I was to talk about how people can be aware of adversity but not acknowledge it. And I think in the language of AA, it's called denial, um, whereby you might be in a state of misery and sadness and things are not going well, but you insist that everything is fine. I know it sounds weird. It might sound weird coming from me because I'm somebody else, but maybe you've been in a situation where you denied the adversity that you're going through and you listen to people saying, fake it until you make it. I'm not saying you should live life miserably when you're in adversity because it's not always that, you should put down your head. And the time period of adversity sometimes is an unknown, and this is where people get frightened, they get scared. But just think about people who've been living in refugee camps for 20 years. That's adversity. But if I can bet you right now, there's some refugee camps that you can go to. And right now, as we speak, someone is laughing, someone has shared a joke. They're eating something and they're grateful. They're singing a song. So it's not like there's a point, yes, an event that can start with adversity and then it can go on longer than expected. But the thing is, some people might be aware of it but not want to acknowledge it. And not wanting to acknowledge a state of adversity is very dangerous because you might not get out of that state and you might not get the help that you might require. So, when reacting to adversity, there's two types of people, I feel, or maybe there's different types, of course, probably maybe 8 billion times as each individual. But generally, you've got people who get energized when troubles hit. They go into overload and their minds start thinking they want to solve the problem immediately. They have to get things done. Or there are people who just give up, who feel destroyed, who feel shattered. Maybe because they've been through a lot of adversity before, or it's first time. So when disaster strikes in their life, they just don't have the tools, they don't have the capacity to take it in. It's shocking. They just cannot understand what on earth is going on. Then in that when that happens, the people react differently. Some cry, some get angry, some become isolated, and I think then others expect help. That's a reaction. Like you get into disaster, you're like, oh my god, who is gonna get me out of this situation? And then there's people who run away from adversity. They just bolt. You don't see them. Something strikes. There's a storm. Whew, out of the way. And then there's people, and I'm one of these people who used to be like this, who get detached. So I will be within the situation, but I detach my body, my mind from what is happening to me. I displace myself. It's so difficult to explain, but if you understand, please share in the comments. But you become detached to the situation because you want to shield yourself from the pain that, if you feel it, probably might help you in the long run, but it's hard. It's hard. But anyway, after experiencing adversity, after reacting to it, how do people rise above it? It's important to know that adversity, in as much as I said, we don't know the time frame, will eventually things can change for the better. Things can grow. There's always something out of adversity that comes out that might be very beautiful. It's just that it's hard to comprehend when you're in the situation. And but I used to tell my students, if you are in a tough situation, you're facing very deep hardships, and you have no idea what to do and where to go, just sit. Just sit. If you can sit, literally sit on the floor and do nothing. Because sometimes help can come from the left, the left, the right, up, down. You don't know. Sometimes you just need to calm down, don't panic. And I think actually panicking is the worst reaction to adversity. Just see how you can, if you calm down, and this is why we're talking about solitude season. Sometimes you might just need to be alone, breathe, think about everything that you can possibly do. And if you can't do anything, just don't. I know this is such a hard lesson for a lot of people. It was a hard lesson for me, but I learned it and it worked. Sometimes you don't need to do anything, just need to calm down. The answer will come to you. Sometimes it's even deep within you, it just needs you to sit quietly alone, and it will rise up itself. And then you'll be like, yes, this is it. So, yeah. I mean, adversity, if you want to talk more about it, feel free. I do give lessons on confidence building, and one of the things we do talk about is how do we manage ourselves and how do we rise from hardships into being the people that we are supposed to be, creating our most creative lives. So I hope this short podcast has been beneficial to you, for you. And as always, my message comes from my heart and I hope it lands into yours. Love and light.